I'm Brian Kramer, coach of coaches and author of Human to Human. Today's guest on Leadtail TV is Cecile Thirion, a global marketer and community builder. We chat with her about building a community of marketers, how B2B marketers should expand their thinking when it comes to marketing internationally, and why mentoring and lifting people up is so important to her. Let's get right into it. Here's my interview with Cecile. Cecile, we're so excited to have you here on Leadtail TV. How are you doing today?
Really great. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful, especially now that I get to spend some time with you. And I'm excited actually to chat about marketing, mentorship, and community. You and I have a lot of passion in those areas. Yes. For anybody who's listening, we both just put our hands over our hearts. And if you're watching, you saw what we did. We're here talking about those things, and it's super exciting to talk about that. But you also have a lot of experience in global roles. It's interesting to see, like, your background is that you've lived in 3 different continents and had global marketing responsibilities, scaling marketing programs in like Latin America and APAC and Europe. So I'm curious, why and when should marketers and companies expand their programs to other regions?
Yes, so it's a really good question. And I'd say first thing first is you really need to have a product market fit. So whether you're a startup, big company, so that's to me the foundation to get started. And then once you have that, think about the problems you try to solve. Are you trying to solve global problems? And if you're solving global problems, you might have a product or a platform that might be of interest for customers, whether they are in your home market and globally. So let's take an example. I had the opportunity to work in transportation for many years in my career. And so in mobility solution, problems around smart cities, urbanization. And when you think about it, when you help people, vehicle and goods move from point A to point B in the most efficient and safest way, these are common challenges for all the biggest cities in the world. So if you work in those kind of industry, fintech, retail, technology, transportation, and you have global problems to solve, then that might make sense to go globally. Then the other thing to take into account is obviously if you have aggressive growth targets, at some point, you double, your revenue year over year, but at some point your target might be so aggressive that the market might not suffice. So then you have to say, well, I really need to go big. And the only way to go big is to go global. And what we're seeing is successful companies, Salesforce.com, do 30% of their revenue outside the US, or the gigantic and just amazing Snowflake IPO recently. They already are doing some business outside the US, and they have announced also in their filing that they're going to continue to invest massively domestically and internationally. So that would be, things I would highlight. And of course, if you get a round of funding, or if you get your leadership team serious about, going globally, then if you have budget, resources, and you can put those programs in place, then go for it.
Mm. That's awesome. I love go bold, go big,
Yes.
Go bold. Such great stuff there. What about smaller startups or smaller companies, though? How should they be thinking about international strategy?
Yes. So I'd say same thing I mentioned about the product market fit. You have seen resources, so you can't tax your current organization by being, global, and you can't spray and pray, right? So focus on your home market. I think that's really critical. And then look for signals, traction. Okay, so this could be, for example, you get customer inquiries, or people sign up for your products online without any interaction with your startup, and they use the product, right? The part of the world. And then also with marketing, with all the technology right now, look at the data. What does the data tell you? So look, for your website, look at your Google Analytics, right? Where does the traffic come from? Do you see people spending more time in specific pages, right? And on social media, same thing, right? You have social media management tools. Look at the data and look at your community, right? Do you engage with people that are based in other region? And then based on that data, right, then start seeing areas where you could focus, where it would make sense for you to focus. And then once you have that information, my recommendation is you really to think big, but start small. So pick, an area, pick a market, and do your homework. And there's a lot of things you can do by doing your homework. So you dive into the data, but there's external resources, whether it's the World Economic Forum, whether you go to the Department of Commerce. There's tons of information you can look into to validate your assumptions. And the other thing that is also important is to get in touch with local people. And as entrepreneurs, you are, probably connected to lots of incubators. So I'm going to mention 2 incubators I know have global footprint, like Singularity University or Plug and Play here in the Bay Area. They do have incubators in other parts of the world. So you can get in touch with other entrepreneurs to understand how it works from, a cultural, law and regulations, the competitive landscape and how it works, and then adapt your plan. And then you probably focus on a couple of areas and experiment, test. Does it work? Do you get some traction? Do you get additional revenue? Yes or no? And then refine. The only caveat I'd say that is really important is if you need customer success support in country, then you will probably need to put some more thoughts in terms of investment, resources, and budget. If that's not the case, then marketing can lead and can test with some programs, and with the data, go back to the team and then decide if you can scale. But you know what? Revenue is revenue. Growth is good. So whether it's growth outside the US and growth here, just go for it, right?
I want to work with you.
I want to work with you as well, Brian.
Your attitude is probably just you're a bright, shining star. Just go for it. I love it. It is so good. You're like a breath of fresh air. So this is so fun. And the next thing I actually wanted to talk to you about was mentorship. So man, to be mentored by you would be even more fun. From your LinkedIn profile, I see that you've done a lot of mentoring across a few different areas like startups and STEM and growth and women in tech.
Yes.
What drew you to be a mentor?
Yes. So I think there's a lot of talks right now and more opportunities than ever on mentorship, Brian. But I think 10 years ago, it was much more informal. So it was much more through word of mouth, where you heard about those opportunities. And to me, one thing that proved to be very successful in my career is get out of the office, be just curious, right? And I attended an event where there was a presentation of an amazing program called Tech Woman, which is a mentoring program from the US Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, where they pair emerging leaders from Africa, Middle East, Sub-Saharan, Central Asia, and South Asia countries with women in leadership role in the Bay Area. So at that time, I was marketing director. I applied. I said, why not? So I applied and I got selected. And I got the opportunity to mentor a co-founder of a startup based in Egypt. She spent 1 month in my company at that time, and she shadowed me for 1 month. And wow, boy, it was just an eye, opener for me, because I learned so much from that relationship in terms of giving back, sharing knowledge, perspective, and experience. But at the same time, I think I became a better person and a better leader in terms of developing empathy, understanding differences, because she came from a different culture, different religion, etc., and bringing that back into my company. And I think it shaped probably my leadership style and really helped me take on more responsibilities. And since then, I've been involved for many years with the Tech Women, so mentoring women in STEM. But I started also mentoring entrepreneurs, so in incubators in the Bay Area, and also being involved in marketing. And I think, and I'm sure you will like it, Brian, to me, mentoring is about growing and is about giving back. And if you give, you grow, you learn, but giving leads you to uncharted territories and new opportunities you wouldn't have thought possible. And that's the power of mentorship.
I really feel like we were separated at birth. It just feels so good to hear somebody say that. It's like when you give, it feels good, and someday it's gonna come back in some way, and even if it doesn't, it helps other people, and you just do it for the goodness of it all. And I just love that. That's so powerful. And it also kind of lends itself into the community piece of what I wanted to talk about with you, because it looks like in recent years you've been active in places like Growth Ops, like the Growth Ops community. Which is another place to give, another place to maybe mentor or grow and create. And there's so much goodness inside of a community. How's your experience in marketing and mentorship coming together or contributed to your efforts in building communities?
Yes, so I think there's a natural connection between mentorship and community. You elaborated about it because listening to your mentee, listening to your community is something important, right? Engaging, right? I think the magic that happens within community is within the engagement among members. And that's also something very important, in a mentorship relationship is, the engagement. And then the nurturing part where you see things grow, because at some point you might springboard a community, but things might take off without you involved or not. And that's where the community sustains by itself. So that's, to me, the connection I see between mentorship and communities. And that's probably why it was a natural path for me to help with communities. Tech Woman, I launched the Alumni Network, which is the community back in 2014, which is a community of mentors where we continue to stay connecting among each other, and we sustain those relationships after the mentorship program is over. And then I've been involved recently with the Growth Ops. I will talk about it, but let me just go back a little bit to marketing and draw the connection. So what I see in marketing, and it is more important than ever, is marketing is about helping customers solve that problem. It's about serving the customer, right? And you serve their interest. It happens that your solution, your products are the answer to their problems, but you are dedicated to your customers, right? So naturally, marketing has been involved in communities to lead those communities. So walk the talk. So, lead those communities. You're supposed to be marketing to serve those customers, so serve members. And that's where I think I found also a great way to walk the talk with the Growth Ops community, where I'm a board member. I not only sharpen my skills as a marketing leader, but I also do good for the community where, sales, marketing, and customer success get together, right, to push the boundaries of what we're seeing, which is a trend, where the emerging rise of growth operation, in some cases revenue operation. And what it is about being customer-centric. And how are you customer-centric? By orchestrating the customer experience among those various functions, whether it's sales, marketing, and customer success. And that's the mission of the Growth Hubs community.
Wow. How do you talked about the success a little bit, but I'm curious maybe if we could dive in a little deeper into the measurement of and where are you looking?
So to me, it's not about the amount of members part of the community. To me, it's about the engagement, period. Right. So whether it's an online community of online offline community, I think on social media, that's probably the golden metric is the engagement, because the engagement means that what you are sharing with that community is meaningful, right? And people want to participate. They see a value into it. So the engagement, so, how would you measure engagement? Well, do you get meaningful conversation? Do you get, people responding? Do you get people asking questions, right, to other peers without your intervention, for example? That's something very important. So obviously you want to grow the community, because the bigger the community is, well, the more interactions you see among members, right? And if there's more interaction, then you can say, well, it's probably a success. But even if you make an impact on 1%, to me is a success, right?
There are so many tweetables in here. I know it's just going to be like a tweetable extravaganza of little fun areas that people I know will love when they hear this. And you just reminded me that the community engagement is the most important. I couldn't agree more. What I'm curious about is how to encourage that, how to build that, how to create more of it.
Yes, and to me, it's a journey, right? Because there's also a notion on context. So, for example, building a community right now purely online versus a mix of online and offline is also very different. So, so it's about sharing valuable things. So what matters to your community. So really understanding your community, their center of interest, because you obviously share things in common. So you have to serve those members. So share those content without anything in return, and then suggest conversation. So there's some mechanism you can do. You can use polls, you can use some questions to encourage that. And, of course, you need to find those guinea pig at the beginning that will, just jump into the pool and, encourage other people to participate. And the other thing also, to me, it's creating a safe environment for those members, where it's non-judgmental. So we welcome different point of view, we welcome different opinion. If people respect each other, that's how that community thrive. So encouraging that. Ideally, if you can get some, community ambassadors, people that, can spur those conversations through local chapters, or, can participate in specific channels, that's fantastic.
Wow, there's so much goodness here. Last question that I had here about this piece, because I really think that this is community to me is one of the like the superpowers that a company could have to skyrocket. Like if you did nothing else and you built a community, you almost let's just say you didn't have a budget and all you had was at the tips of your fingers the possibility of building a community that would be not the full scale marketing that you could do, but it would be enough to keep a company going and grow it. Do you agree?
Totally. And I have two examples to mind. Sorry, I promise that's the last time I mentioned Salesforce.com,
No,
but their
all good.
Trailblazer community is awesome. So, okay, you say it's a large company, but, even if you're a small startup, or, you just want to launch a community with, friends or, people in the same industry, look at what Salesforce.com is doing. And you and I are marketers, Brian. So HubSpot is doing also an amazing job. So they have the HubSpot Academy where they offer training. So, well, it's, at a certain time, well, brush up your skills. So you have this opportunity to that community. But what is also interesting is the opportunity to participate in their product roadmap also as well. So they really listen and they welcome also those suggestions. So to me, it's not only having a pulse on your customers, but it's also getting extremely valuable feedback for your product roadmap. What else can I do to improve the customer experience? What else can I do to bring value to my customers? And you have a direct line with your customers. You don't have to go through media. You talk directly to the customer. And what a best way, right? There's no better way to me than the voice of the customer directly. And you can do that through those communities.
Well, you just melted my heart. Everything that you just said is right in line with where I'm at. And I couldn't thank you enough for just being here and sharing your knowledge about community and marketing and just being a really awesome human being. Like I said before, man, you just bring such great energy to this interview and to everything that you do. Thank you so much. And Leadtail thanks you for being here and being on the interview.
Yes, and Brian, thank you so much because you've been a role model for all of us. You've been a strong advocate about the value of community. You have embedded what community is about, being authentic, genuine, and I think it paved the way for lots of marketers. Sometimes it's not by reinventing, but it's by taking the greatness, the good things of what people are doing, and you just do it in a different environment, in a different industry, right? With a different community, right? But learn from the best. And I think building communities, it's an area where we can all learn from you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And even though it's human to Zoom to human right now, it's still about humans. So yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.